Alright, welcome to the PairRec San Fran Tourism channel. Our goal is to help you find your point of entrance by showcasing the top attractions in the San Francisco Bay Area. Now today's focus will be Phase 4 on a series of adventures featuring Potrero Hill in San Francisco. Now, Potrero Hill is approximately 2.9 miles south of Union Square and approximately 5 miles south of Fisherman's Wharf. Now, what makes Potrero Hill so special is it has a lot of hidden gems and secrets that you might find of interest. The most famous in Potrero Hill is the longest crooked street, which is the longest crooked street in the city. Many tourists and many locals alike are not aware that Potrero Hill has the longest crooked street in the city. Now, they mostly think of Lombard Street as the longest crooked street in the city. However, the longest crooked street in the city is at 20th and the intersection of 20th and Vermont and Potrero Hill. Now, this is one of many hidden gems that are within Potrero Hill that we want to showcase. With that being the case, let's get started. Now, today's weather in San Francisco is 59 degrees Fahrenheit with 28% humidity and 5-mile-an-hour winds. Today's date is Monday, November 9th, 2020. The time is 1:16 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now, before we get started, I want to emphasize the chapters that we provide within the video that makes it easy for you to find the specific point that's within the video, or I should say specific interest within the video. We've created a series of timestamps that are in the description that, again, will make it easy for you to navigate your way throughout the video. So please feel free to check the timestamp section within the description. Now, as I mentioned before, we've identified 3 phases within Potrero Hill that showcase many of the hidden gems. We started initially at the crooked street, 20th and Vermont. We went eastbound on 20th Street. Then Phase 2 we went westbound on 19th Street. And then Phase 3 we went eastbound on 18th Street. And now today we're going to go westbound on Mariposa Street. We're going to begin at the 500 block of Mariposa. Now, one of the things we're also going to emphasize is the numbered blocks and how the streets are aligned. And this is designed to help you identify your specific point of interest, but also it'll help you with navigating your way if you're using a sidecar service like Uber or Lyft and the driver asks you where your location is. We're going to show you the significance of how the streets are numbered and aligned to help you more readily find your specific location, and at the same token be able to convey that to a driver or anybody else that may be looking for you, as well as you looking for a specific point of interest. With that being the case, let's get started. Now, if you look carefully, you'll see at the beginning of the 500 block here at Mariposa, the streets are numbered by increments of 100. And so, for instance, and look at the arrow. You see the arrow is pointing westbound. That means that the number of blocks are going to be getting larger as you go westbound. That is, the next block is going to be 600. The next block after that is going to be 700, then 800, then 900, all the way up until the end of the Mariposa Street. And then any block that's going in opposite direction, the number is going to be smaller. So going eastbound to your left of the arrow, the number is going to be 400, 300, 200, 100 until you begin at the beginning of Mariposa. Now in our case, we're going to be going westbound towards the arrow, as with the same direction as the arrow is pointing, I should say. The other thing you're going to notice is that on one side of the street is going to be even numbered and the other side is going to be odd numbered. And this is really going to help you identify your specific point of interest. We'll feature that later on within the shoot. With that being the case, let's get started. Now, right here at the corner of Mariposa and 3rd Street, you notice on that the yellow marking on the pole identifies the specific bus stops. The bus line is going to be stopping here at this corner. Now, they show the bus line K and the bus line T. Now, this is what's going to help you determine where your specific bus location is located. Because in many cases, the identification of your bus line is going to be on these poles, yellowed in yellow ink, or yellow markings, I should say. But in most cases, or many other cases, there's going to be a canopy at the bus stop with some seating, and then on the side of the canopy, you'll be able to see the bus lines or light rail or any form of public transit that's going to be stopping at that specific bus stop. So this is what you're going to be looking for. If you don't see the canopy with the seats inside of the canopy and the signage indicating the bus line is going to be stopping there, then the other thing you want to look for is signage on these poles, which will indicate your specific bus line. Now, in the middle of the intersection is the stop for the T light rail service. Now, I mentioned earlier that T also has a bus line, but the T light rail is not operational due to COVID-19. So therefore, they're using the bus line as a way to transport guests down 3rd Street. But when the light rail service resumes, this is going to be one of the stops that you'll be using that essentially are running along 3rd Street. Eventually, the T light rail, will also go underground when you get towards Market Street. We'll try to give you some shots of the T line if we see it here before we move westbound on Mariposa. Now, here's another shot of the T light rail pickup stop location. And as you can see, this particular station is designed for guests that are passengers that are going northbound, that is north towards the downtown area. And then opposite direction, you'd be going southbound. Here's a look at one of the light rail train tracks. Now here's the Ucsf Medical Center. It's located in Mission Bay. Mission Bay is right on the edge of Potrero Hill. And we'll feature Mission Bay at another film shoot. But nevertheless, for any of your medical needs, if you have a medical emergency, this will be one of the hospitals that you may utilize. It's located at 18. They have several entrances. This one is right at the corner here at Mariposa and 3rd Street, but one of the main entrances is at 1825 4th Street. But as I said earlier, we'll feature Mission Bay points of interest at a later film shoot. Now approaching the 600 block of Mariposa, going westbound. Across street is Tennessee. Now, one of the things that's going to help you identify the title of the street is two ways. One is most of the signage, when you come to the intersection of any block, is going to have the title of the street on it, but in some cases it won't. So when you can't identify the title of the street, what you do is you get to the corner of the street and you look down on the sidewalk, and then you will find the title listed right here. And as you can see here, this title is Mariposa Street. And this will happen periodically, where you simply just cannot find the title of the street. So that's what you do. You come to the street corner, and then you look down the sidewalk, and you'll find the title of the street. Now I'm going to show you also the title of the street for Tennessee Street, which is the corner, at the corner of Mariposa. So you can see the cross street is Tennessee Street, which is identified at the sidewalk here. Well, if you're car or vehicles in need of auto repair, check out Golden Gate Auto Body. They're located at 625 Mariposa Street. Now, one of the things that is special about the city is that we do have a series of directional signs that help you find your point of interest. For instance, at this particular sign, it shows the Caltrain station. It's about 0.7 miles away at 22nd Street, and then going southbound, and then going westbound as we are is the 16th Street BART station, about 1.8 miles away. And then the Castro district is an additional 2.5 miles away, going also westbound. And you see to your right the number of minutes that are remaining to get to the point of interest. I assume that would be reflective of if you are cycling, as there is a cycling image on top of the sign. But nevertheless, it's 4 minutes away. Caltrain station is 4 minutes away. The 16th Street BART station is 11 minutes away, and then the Castro district is 20 minutes away. Now approaching the 700 block of Mariposa Street, going westbound. Before we continue on the 700 block of Mariposa, I want to emphasize the significance of how the streets are aligned in terms of odd numbered street addresses versus even numbered street addresses. Now, if you look carefully, the Golden Gate Body Shop, the last number on the street address is odd number, 625. What that means is any establishment that's on the same side of the street as the Golden Gate Body Shop is going to be odd numbered, which also means that across the street, all the establishments, the businesses and residences are going to be even numbered. Now, this is going to be one of the key components to helping you find your specific point of interest. Because let's say, for example, the place you're looking for is at the 1100 block, and say the address was 1155. Now, you know by looking here at the Golden Gate Auto Body Shop that the last numbered is odd, so that means that you know instantly that it's going to be on the left-hand side of the street. As I said before, all the addresses are going to be numbered on the odd side of the street, and so you know it's going to be on the left-hand side. Furthermore, by looking at where the arrow is going, and you know it's going westbound, as we emphasized earlier, as we continue to do, you know it's going to be to your right of your specific address, which is right here, right now, we're at 625. So again, this is going to be crucial in helping you find your point of interest. Same on the flip side of the spectrum, if the establishment you're looking for is, let's say, 155 Mariposa, now that's going to be in the opposite direction. How do you know that? Because the arrow on how the streets are aligned is pointing westbound. And since the number is 150 or 155 as we indicated, that's 400 blocks, that's 4 blocks less than 600. So we know it's going to be going in the opposite direction because we know the number is going to be larger as we go westbound. They're going to be smaller as we go eastbound. So again, this is one of the key components to helping you find your point of interest. Now, we're going to show as we move westbound on Mariposa, I'm going to show you an even numbered street address so they can see the differences. Now, located right here at the corner of Mariposa and Minnesota Street is a waste disposal recycling bin. So one of the things that contributes to keeping the city clean is that you dispose of your waste at these recycling bins or garbage bins. Now, one of the things that makes this adventure in Potrero Hill so special is you'll be able to see the depth of views of the skyline and any direction you might be looking at, either east, west, north, or south. We pointed out when we're at the top of Potrero Hill how wonderful the views are of the city skyline and of the East Bay and the South Bay. But now we've worked our way towards the bottom of the hill here at Mariposa, in which case your views of the skyline buildings are going to be obstructed. But nevertheless, you'll be able to see the contrast from exploring the top of the hill versus the bottom of the hill. Well, here's Mariposa Park at the corner of Mariposa and Minnesota Street. We're still at the 700 block of Mariposa, but let me give you some shots of Mariposa Park. This would be a great place for you to relax and unwind as you continue your journey throughout Potrero Hill. Let me show you some of the perks of the park. Now here's like a miniature chimpanzee, what you call them, for children primarily. It's like a miniature playground area for children. So here's a grass area of Mariposa Park. So this would be an area where you can also relax, have lunch, maybe network with your colleagues and friends. Also great for walking your dog within the park. I'll give you some more individual shots as well of the park. Here's another view of the playground area within Mariposa Park. A wonderful seating option for snacks and having lunch and networking. Now they do have a few rules here within the park. All dogs must remain unleashed, no glass. Children must be supervised, no smoking. These are things that are designed to enhance your experience while enjoying the park. Well, here's a convenient bike rack. For those of you that are cycling within Potrero Hill, you can stop and take a break, park your bike. Now approaching the 800 block of Mariposa, the cross street is Indiana. Now approaching the 900 block of Mariposa, the cross street is Owens. Now what's going to make this intersection important and special for you is that it can be used as a major shortcut for coming into the city. If you're coming from, let's say, the San Francisco airport, you take the Mariposa exit, I'll show you in a minute, and then you can navigate your way throughout the city if the traffic is really backed up. And again, if you're coming off Highway 101, coming into the city. I mentioned the differences between using Highway 101 coming in and out of the city versus using Highway 280 coming in and out of the city. So in this particular situation, this highway we're approaching is going to be 280, and so you want to be able to know the shortcut routes in the event that there is traffic and you need to get into the city. And I also mentioned the significance of taking 280 as opposed to using 101, because there's nowhere nearly as much traffic on Highway 280 as there is on Highway 101. But also, as I said earlier, knowing the significance of what exits to take when you're coming in or out of the city is also important as well. Now here's Highway 280. We're going to be going underneath it as we continue going westbound on Mariposa. Then I'll show you the exit as you're coming off of 280 onto Mariposa. So as I said earlier, here's the exit if you're coming off of Highway 280 as you're coming into the city onto Mariposa. And it's, again, periodically used as kind of a shortcut if traffic is backed up on 280 and you're coming into the city and you want to get into the city faster. You take the Mariposa exit here and then you use your GPS to get to the downtown area if that's where you're going. And then here's your directional sign indicating to enter onto Highway 280 going southbound if you're going to the San Francisco airport. I'll show you the entrance in a minute. So here's the entrance to Highway 280 going southbound. As I said earlier, if you're going towards Silicon Valley, San Jose, or the San Francisco airport, this will be one of the entrance points. And as I said earlier, you want to be making certain that you're using Highway 280 versus Highway 101 when coming in and out of the city, especially during the rush hour time. Rush hour would be Monday through Friday during the midweek between 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. as locals or indoor tourists are heading out of the city during the evening hour. And then the rush hour coming into the city is 3:30 a.m. to 7 a.m. And rush hour, we mean that that's a significant amount of vehicles and cars either coming into the city or coming out of the city at the same time. So you want to be using Highway 280 versus 101. I emphasize the significance of both highways in my previous film shoots in phases 1, 2, and 3. Now here we just crossed underneath the bridge, and you can see some of the cars going southbound on the Highway 280. Now we're crossing the 1000 block of Mariposa. The cross street is Pennsylvania. Now here at the intersection of Pennsylvania and Mariposa, you can see the depth of the hill, Potrero Hill, from which we came. As I said earlier, we started at the 20th Street, we worked our way down to the 19th, 18th, and then here at Mariposa. And so now that we're at the bottom of the hill, you kind of see the significance of, as you navigate your way throughout Potrero Hill, from the top to the bottom, what your views are going to be like and the hidden treasures and gems that are within the city as well. Now at Potrero Bathhouse and Feed, they offer pet supplies for dogs and cats. They also offer a bathhouse for shampoo. So if you have any pets that are in need of bathhouse or pet supplies and cares, then bring them to Paw House. They're located at 199 Mississippi Street. The cross street is Mariposa. Paw House also serves birds as well. Now approaching the 1100 block of Mariposa. Cross street is Mississippi. Now here at the intersection of Mississippi and Mariposa, you have signage that indicates there's going to be a detour here, and they want you to, if you're driving that is, to take the 16th Street. You will find detours, street signs all throughout the city for different reasons, like if there's a lane closure or street closure due to an accident or fire or some kind of medical emergency or whatever the case may be. You need to obey the signage that indicates whether or not you can drive on any particular street at any given time. And speaking of signage, I can't stress the importance of, if you decide to park along the street within the city, you must obey and pay attention to the parking signs. Now in this case, it says 2-hour parking from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Saturday. And then it also indicates move off the block or 1/10 mile before time limit expires, except Area X permits. And what that means is if you have paid for the right to park in this area, then of course this particular designated time frame for parking doesn't apply to you. But if you're just here to visit someone or to patron an establishment, a business establishment, then you must obey the signage, because if you don't, then you run the risk of getting ticketed or even towed. Now above that sign you'll see another one saying no parking from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Mondays, which is reserved for street cleaning, and today is Monday. So during that time frame, if your car is parked on the sidewalk, it's going to get towed. So again, you want to pay absolute attention to signage if you decide to street park. And another thing you need to be aware of if you decide to street park is when you're parking up a hill like we are right now, that your wheels are turned in the appropriate direction. Now in this case, we're going uphill. So therefore, your wheels need to be turned outward. And of course, on the opposite end, if you're going downhill, I'll show you in a minute, they need to be turned inward. Now, if you fail to align your wheels in the appropriate direction, you also run the risk of getting cited and maybe even towed, because the MTA representatives, when they come out and do analysis of the street alignment parking, if they see that your wheels are not appropriately turned, then you're going to get cited. Now let me show you if you're parking downhill as we go across the street. how your wheels should be aligned. Now as we cross the street, you'll see that the black car to the right is not, their wheels are not, the front wheels are not evenly turned inward as they should be when parking down the hill. But if you look at the silver car in front of it, his car's wheels is turned inward, which is the appropriate way to be turned. So again, if the MTA rep sees that this black car to the right, his wheels is evenly paired and not turned inward like they should be, then the black car is going to get, the owner of the black car is going to get cited for improper wheel alignment. Now, Liana's coffee roasting company is award-winning coffee, and they also do home deliveries. Now, they're located at 1125 Mariposa Street. Now, one final thing I want to mention about Liana Coffee Roasting House is that, if you notice, I said earlier, the address is at 1125 Mariposa Street. And then going back to Golden Gate Body Shop, they were located at 65 Mariposa. Now, as you can see here, Liana Coffee Roasting House is exactly 5 blocks away from Golden Gate Auto Shop. And the address for Liana Coffee Shop is odd number, just like the Golden Gate Body Shop, which is also odd numbered ending. And so again, this lets you know the significance of how to find a specific location. So again, let's say you were at the Golden Gate Body Shop and you couldn't find Liana Coffee Roasting House, but you knew the address, which is 1125 Mariposa. So in knowing, looking at the street corners, you know that the arrow of the street block is going westbound. So you know it's just going to be 5 blocks away on the east side of the street, because the odd number of the streets of the businesses are all going to be on the left-hand side. As I said earlier, the even number is going to be on the right-hand side. So that's how you're going to be able to determine how to find a specific location within the city. I'll give you some more examples as we go westbound as well. Now approaching the 1200 block of Mariposa Street, and the cross street is Texas. Now, what's special about this intersection, as we mentioned previously, the other phases of Potrero Hill, is the incredible scenic views you're going to be able to find as you move from intersection to intersection throughout the neighborhood. Now, this particular intersection, I'm going to show you some spectacular views northbound that you'll be able to see. So, as you look northbound at the intersection of Texas and Mariposa, you'll see a spectacular view of the San Francisco skyline, not as panoramic, because we are at the base of Potrero Hill, unlike when we were at the top of Potrero Hill. But that tall building you see looking right at us is the Salesforce Tower, and just to your left, that brown building is the Bank of America. I featured the Salesforce Tower when I emphasize Mission Street. I'll put a link in the description. And what's special about Mission Street is that you get right up close to these tall buildings, but nevertheless, this is what you're going to be able to see as you cross many of the intersections throughout Potrero Hill. So let's continue our journey going westbound on Mariposa. However, before we continue going westbound on Mariposa, I want to emphasize another sign that you need to be aware of if you decide to street park, and that is park at 90 degrees. You'll notice here in a minute, I'm going to show you that all the cars that are parked on Texas Street going southbound are parked at 90 degrees. Now, this is important in certain areas within the city, that you be parked accordingly to what the sign indicates. And I'll show you what the sign means by parking at 90 degrees. So as you can see here, all the cars are parked at 90 degrees. This is a position that you'd want to be parked at on this particular block. Not all the blocks, but as you can see looking up the hill, you must be parked at the appropriate angle. The other thing is you need to be aware of is when you're driving up these steep hills, especially if you're using a heavy vehicle, you'd want to adhere to the steepness of the hills. We'll emphasize this later on as we continue our journey west on Mariposa, because you'll have a very difficult driving up these hills if you're driving a large vehicle. But we'll talk more about that later. Now approaching the 1300 block of Mariposa. The cross street is Missouri. Now at the intersection of Missouri and Mariposa, as you can see, you're looking northbound, you'll get a greater panoramic, more unobstructed view of the San Francisco skyline, which is really extraordinary. We saw a lot of this in the film shoots on the streets on 20th Street and 19th and 18th Street on the hill, but even though we're at the base of Potrero Hill, we're still technically on a hill, and you're still able to observe spectacular views of the skyline. We'll show you more views as we move further westbound, west of the city. Now here's one of the bus lines, the 22 Fillmore, that you can use to bring you throughout certain areas of the city. Whenever you're in need of public transit service, the SF Muni is a great source of information. I use them all the time for all public transit throughout the city, whether it be bus, cable car, light rail, whatever. Now their phone number is area code 415-673-6864. I'll put a link in the description. Great source of public transit information within the city. Now crossing the 1400 block of Mariposa, the cross street is Connecticut. Now you get some really spectacular views at this intersection. I'll show you in a minute. Now here at the intersection of Connecticut and Mariposa, if you're looking westbound, same direction we're headed, you'll see how there's a dip in the hill. It goes down, then it goes back up again. You'll see this a lot all throughout the city. So you have to be prepared for these hills. They're not really steep, although we have a few steep hills, but nevertheless, the dip of going up and down is one of the things you're going to observe. But also in the far back end, you see that tall tower. Yeah, that's the Twin Peaks Tower. That's the broadcast signal tower that the local stations use to broadcast their signal, and I featured that in Twin Peaks. My film shoot of Twin Peaks, there'll be a link in the description. Now let me show you what you'll see if you looked northbound, the same intersection. So at the same intersection, looking north, you're going to see more wonderful views of the San Francisco skyline. So some intersections it varies. You'll get views of the skyline looking looking north, or views of Southbound Tower looking west, and then looking east from which we came, once we get on top of the hill of Mariposa, you'll also see views of the bay as well. So let's continue our journey westbound on Mariposa. Now crossing the 1500 block of Mariposa, the cross street is going to be Arkansas. Now here at Jackson Playground, this playground pretty much covers the entire 4-block radius of Mariposa, Arkansas, Carolina Street, and 17th Street. And pretty much it's a playground for a lot of activities. You know, you can see kids swing there take your children out for swings. We got a grass court area, we got a basketball court, and tennis court. And so we can check this out a little bit more. This is great if you're bringing your family to explore Potrero Hill, and then as you can see here, there's family activities at this park. Let's check out the park a little bit more. Well, although I couldn't find an entrance to the park off of Mariposa Street, but when I came to Carolina Street and turned right down to 17th Street here in the corner of 17th and Carolina, I see one of the entrances to the park. So let's check it out. So you can see here's the softball field, and we'll give you a panoramic view of the park, which I said earlier includes tennis court, basketball court, children's play area, and I think they have a few other amenities as well. Some more individual shots of the Jackson Park. the tennis court, the basketball court, the children's playground area. Now approaching the 1700 block of Mariposa. Cross street is Carolina. Now we have a special treat for you at this intersection here. We'll show you in a minute. Now here at this intersection of Carolina and Mariposa is Anchor Stream Brewing Company. Now what's special about them is especially those of you that like beers, is they give a wonderful tour of their brewing house and how they make their beers. And at the end of the tour, you'd receive a tasting flight. Anchor Stream also distributes their beers all throughout the city in the Bay Area and throughout the country. Now, I'm not certain if they're still running tours right now due to COVID-19, but you can contact them directly to get more information about their tours. We'll put a link in the description for their contact information. But some great history about their beer making process as well. Now, Anchor Stream Brewing Company is located at 1705 Mariposa Street. If I recall, this is the actual entrance to the Anchor Stream Brewing House, which is at really the corner of Mariposa and DeHaro. But nevertheless, you can contact them directly to find out more about their tours and their specific entrance to their establishment. Now approaching the 1800 block of Mariposa, the cross street is DeHaro, and it's got some special treats for scenic views within the cross street. I'll show you in a minute. Now looking to your south at the intersection of DeHaro and Mariposa, you'll see another example of the steepness of the hills, and you could also see, there's a cyclist coming down the hill as well. So you have the opportunity to cycle throughout the neighborhood as well. But nevertheless, we started up at the top of the hill. Now, as you see, we're at the kind of the bottom of Potrero Hill, and you see the huge difference and the steepness of the hills. And looking to your north, within the intersection, DeHaro, Mariposa, you'll see again just another wonderful view of the San Francisco skyline. So as I said earlier, as you move from intersection to intersection, you always want to look to your left, to your right, north, south, and observe these spectacular views of San Francisco. Now approaching the 1900 block of Mariposa, the cross street is Rhode Island. Now how about this shot of the San Francisco skyline? Just spectacular. This one again is at the intersection of Rhode Island and Mariposa. Now approaching the 2000 block of Mariposa, the cross street is Kansas. Now if you notice looking southbound on Kansas Street, you'll see that the street alignment for parking is not at 90 degrees. That this on Kansas Street, as it was on some of the other streets that crossed Mariposa. So again, you always want to pay attention to the signage for parking on the side of the street, and then also make sure that your wheels are turned in the appropriate direction, as I indicated earlier. Now looking north at the intersection of Kansas and Mariposa, now you'll see, in addition to the wonderful view of the San Francisco skyline, you see that little spike of a building. It's like an ice pick right next to the tall brown building. That's the Trans-America Pyramid building. You can't get a clear shot from it here because some buildings are in front of it, but nevertheless, we'll feature that building in a later film shoot when we focus in on the financial district. Now as we approach the 21st 100 block of Mariposa, it's going to come to an abrupt end as far as Potrero Hill goes. Mariposa will continue, but beyond the intersection here, beyond the dead end street here is what it is. But nevertheless, I'm going to point out a few things here as we get close to wrapping up our adventure on Mariposa. The cross street is Vermont. Now, what makes the Vermont intersection with Mariposa so great, as I mentioned earlier, the longest crooked street in the city is at 20th and Vermont. And we're at Mariposa in Vermont. So 20th Street is going to be a few blocks, approximately 3 blocks south of where we're at right now, up that hill. And I featured it in phase 1 of Potrero Hill. So don't forget to check out the wonderful views of the crooked street. And then we're going to show you a few more hidden treasures right here at Vermont and Mariposa. Now looking to your north, again, another just spectacular view of the San Francisco skyline, skyscraper buildings. However, at this intersection of Vermont, I'm going to show you the views to the east from which we came, and then I'm going to show you the view towards the west from which we now ended. So as you can see, looking towards the east from which we came, way in the background there is the view of the San Pablo Bay and the East Bay Hills. So when we were on shooting phase 1 and 2 and even 3 on the top of Potrero Hill, you'd be able to see the wonderful views of the bay and the container ships that are in the bay and much more. But nevertheless, that's what's so special about Potrero Hill. These wonderful views of the bay. Now here also at the intersection of Mariposa and Vermont is a USPS mail drop box. So this is a great opportunity to mail up any souvenirs to your family and friends about your adventures in Potrero Hill, as well as throughout the city. Now the Slovenian Hall, they offer public events throughout the year. I'll put a link in the description so you can find out more about their activities, mainly geared towards the Slovenian people. I attended several cultural events throughout the city, and they usually have these halls that house or host a lot of their venues. So if you want to attend a cultural event, you should definitely log onto the website, subscribe to the newsletter, and be kept up to date when their events occur. Now, unfortunately, because of COVID-19, the hall is closed, but this will definitely enhance your overall experience here in the city by attending these cultural events. Now, they're located at 2101 Mariposa Street, again, right on here on the corner of Vermont. Now, also at the intersection here at Vermont and Mariposa is the exit off of 101 highway. And I mentioned earlier the differences between the Highway 101 coming in and out of the city versus Highway 280 coming in and out of the city. Now, as you can see, you notice how busy the traffic is versus Highway 280. It's a huge difference, especially right now. Right now is the heart of the rush hour during the midweek, and it can be very congested. Now, the cars on the left, they're coming into the city, into the downtown area. Meanwhile, the cars on the right are going outbound. And you can see it's much more heavier traffic, and that's just why I encourage you to use Highway 280 when you're coming in and out of the city versus 101. The other thing is, just as a distance there, you'll see a bridge. These bridges take you, in many cases, either over highways or over one block to another, and they're great for accessing more streets. And as you can see here, I featured that bridge on the 18th Street film shoot. So we have a ton of bridges here in the city. We got a ton of stepwells, which you didn't see here on the Mariposa film shoot, but nevertheless, this is one of the many historical significant facts throughout the city are the bridges and the stepwells. So now, as we conclude our film shoot here of Mariposa Street, and you see in the background another view of the Twin Peaks Tower. I hope you enjoyed what you learned and saw of Mariposa Street and Potrero Hill. If you did, I'd appreciate if you could subscribe to my channel, like, comment, share with your family and friends. Don't forget to check out my website, PairRec.com, PAIRREC.com. Log on, you can view my blog to get more details about these extraordinary adventures throughout the San Francisco Bay Area. While you're there, you can also subscribe to my newsletter where you get information on discounts and promotions on tours, attractions, lodging, dining, shopping, wine tasting, and more. And also, don't forget to view the description where you get links out to the other adventures throughout the San Francisco Bay Area. And finally, don't forget to tune in to Phase 5 of our adventure, Potrero Hill, as we focus in on 17th Street and then more of the streets that are south of 20th and Vermont, where the Cook Street is. So essentially, we're going to cover the whole Potrero Street Hill because it has many more points of interest and hidden gems that you might find of interest. That's all for now, and have a nice day. We'll see you in the next film shoot. Goodbye.